As for you did want to talk about diamond weapon stuff.
I did want to talk.
In our last stream. We
Yeah,
really got to that.
that's right.
Should I bring up the notes?
Nah, it's fine. Don't think I wrote any notes. I just scribbled down stuff I wanted to think about. But no, I finished this was like, what, a week? What? How does time work?
Oh, barely.
How does time work? Because I don't know if that was a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now.
A year.
But anyway, no, Diamond Weapon Extreme. Fucking sick. It's, man, I immediately like what I've seen of Extreme stuff more than like normal raids in WoW by a significant margin a lot of the time. Just because it felt so, it's the idea of you have to react, everything's so simple that you get, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it properly, but like execution is hard enough that you never get to just kind of zone out.
Yeah.
The pacing of things coming in is always next thing, but not like overwhelming. It's always like, oh, I've handled that. Okay, where am I at? And it's like the way I explained it, I think to you a couple times, how this stuff worked was, or how it feels to me, is like there's parallel processing going on where you're going through what you're doing in your job, and then you hop over to the thread of dealing with a fight. And because of how it's paced, it feels really not gentle, but it feels like you've got loads of time to parallel process everything that goes through.
Yeah.
And you've got all of the time to think of everything. So having like hopping into a group and going, you know, someone spams a macro that gives everyone's position and people call out what marker they're going to take. Someone throws the world markers up and everyone just goes. But all 8 people are actually going ham. All 8 people are falling, like, you know, 4 people are moving at a time to do a mechanic. Sometimes it's 2 people moving. Sometimes it's like, you know, all 8 have to dance to avoid the flood ray, which I think I've started calling floor ray because it kills so many people. But like dealing with flood ray is just such an enjoyable thing to do. It's not like the most difficult thing to do. It's not like it's the most, you know, complex thing to strategize around. It is literally just, you've got your number, you stand where you're supposed to be. You see, oh, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Oh, I guess you'd be 7. Is it 7? Yeah, you'd be 7. So 3 gets hit. So 3 moves, 7 moves into their place. And it's just so satisfying to do this, especially with a group of 7 people who are competent and, you know, have maybe have done it before, maybe haven't done it before. And it's just so interesting to me, where I really enjoyed it in a way. I was like, fuck, that was really fun. And then I tried it a couple different times, different party, didn't get it killed again. But I was like, man, this is actually really fun. And now I'm immediately going, okay, well, I want to do that, but I want to do it on a job that's harder than Bard. Not to say I did very well. I definitely dropped my dots, but I'd love to try the same thing again, but playing Ninja, or maybe tank it next time, something like that. And I'm very close because my Ninja's 75. So I'd love to do. But it was just like the mechanics were all just really well done. That's how I felt.
It'll be a long time before I get to see any of this shit.
Well, that's the thing. You can do extremes at 50, like Asmon's been doing. Just not modern content.
Yeah, so that's him doing the extremes at 50, and because he's doing it at 50, it's like unsynced. It's just sort of going in like wrong.
Well, he's doing minimum item level, no echo.
Sorry, yeah.
So he's doing it as close as possible to originally intended. And extremes are kind of in the realms of normal difficulty where they're not that hard. They're not that hard, but they're hard enough.
When he does that, is he doing that like all with people in the same state as him?
Yeah. Yeah, because...
So there's no like stronger players who are sinking down?
I mean, there are, but they're sinking to the minimum item level.
Okay.
And because stats and stuff are so simple generally, then it is fairly close.
It seems like, at least based on, because I was looking at parses, not that you're supposed to be doing any of that, but I was looking at, or not parses, it was sims. I was looking at sims of the various different jobs, and it was surprising how close they all were. And when I think about them having generally a more simple itemization system, more simple design, less, I mean, there's not player freedom within how your thing plays. It does seem like it's a way more just syncable game. Where it seems like if you try to do the same thing in WoW, like just the shit would start breaking. Yeah. All over the show, right? So. Yeah,
well, I will have the disclaimer that it's not perfect in FF because design changes over the years especially when you're going back to A Realm Reborn stuff, design changes over the years make it significantly easier. Because, as an example, TP used to exist. Now it doesn't. So you've not got that problem of, like, as an example, a warrior can now hold AoE aggro all day long. Whereas previously, you do a couple overpowers, you're out of TP, you're like, fuck this. Or, you know, as an example, physical jobs can now sprint. Because it used to be if they sprint.
Physical jobs couldn't sprint in the past.
They could sprint, but sprint would take up all your TP. And that's what physical attacks relied on.
TP being.
I think it was called tactical points.
Okay, like I literally just did.
Yeah, so there's there's HP, MP, and there was TP.
Right.
And that was used to like stop you from spamming your strongest physical abilities.
Yeah.
It regenerated at roughly around the rate of your standard rotation would drain it. Okay. But then if you sprinted, it emptied it all. Which means, you know, you sprint as a melee thing.
Yeah, and suddenly you can't.
Don't have TP respiration. Now you're out of stuff to attack. And that's like one small part because there's obviously loads of class job changes. There's loads of like role actions that are different and new now. Because I mean, role actions weren't in ARR. They were in the cross class days where you would, similar idea, but you would borrow moves from other classes. And then there's kind of a, how to put it? There's kind of a meta there that you had to do, so everyone had the same sort of roughly, but it's very different. But it's as close as reasonable. It's as close as reasonable, and it just makes for slightly easier, but still you can't just skip mechanics.
Yeah,
basically you have to do the fight roughly close to design. Maybe not as hard, but yeah, you still have to do it. And I really interested in once we have a good couple players from the guild up at like decent levels, I wouldn't mind going back and setting aside time to do some of the extremes. In the way they were, or totally. even doing what do you call it? Even doing coil. Doing coil synced seems like it would be very bad.
I definitely want to do all this shit properly.
Yep.
That's why I've not been rushing through the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see the point in rushing through a game and ruining it. It's that thing. Like it's really easy to progress through a game if you're a streamer. Because turns out sitting down and playing the game is your job. For us, it ain't like that.
Honestly, I have genuinely been feeling some wild amount of envy for all these streamers playing FF.
Same, yeah.
And they're just like, oh my god, look at them. They're doing like, they've got the energy to do more difficult content. They've got all that stuff. Whereas like I'm home from a day of work, I'm like, I'm doing leveling roulette and then going to bed. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. That's the funny thing about it. That's just what it is when you're doing VOD content that's not based on live gameplay.
Yeah.
So that's our fault. That said, we're getting better and better at doing VOD content.
Sorry.
How'd you get in the WoW numbers video?
Oh, not quite finished, but getting there.
Okay. I'm almost done with Terrellian and Khadgar's done as well, so
yeah. By the numbers is almost
gaming
finished.
time may be coming soon. Maybe he's finally got ahead of his scripts and work and he can play video games again.
Hope so.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Go for it.